Hello open worlders, I'm dropping this in just to assist with the integration. Hopefully you've all read the first chapter of the manual talking about the energy scaffolding integration. And I just wanted to give you an example to assist if anyone's getting stuck on the technique of how to do this, and also a bit of background about why. So essentially we're looking at really opening up and connecting with and being free flowing with particular areas of our life depending on your particular intention. For example, if you're a performer, you might want to step into a space where it feels like you're going to rehearse or perform. If you've got the privilege of being able to access a performance space, walking in there. You can even do this briefly backstage before you go on. If you're in a different context, for example, if you want to work on your relationships and your sexual connection with people, feeling what it's like when you first enter that room, when you're sitting with someone that you want to be intimate with, and just being aware of the default reactions, the default energy scaffolding that is infused into our body in these situations. So the reason this is important is because that is then the hook on which we can hang our coat, so to speak. This is the space, the leverage, the friction point that we can then start to dislodge the energy that is happening within us, sometimes unconsciously. If you've got the luxury of then being able to do this process right there and then, it'd be great. Like if you could be in the performance space, you feel it arise in you, then you do the activity. That's the best situation. But if you are about to go on stage and you can't do this whole process, just really be attuned to your body, feel into what's coming up, and then try and replicate that when you get to do this training by yourself. A really nice way to tune in is across the 5 bodies. And what they are is the spiritual body. So the way to tap into that is really just feeling into yourself, into your essence, into your personality, into your perspective, and seeing if you feel like you are yourself, if you're present, if you feel like your intention is coming into the space, or if you feel like you're sort of put out of place due to the situation. The second body is the mental body. So what sort of stories are you telling yourself? What sort of identities are imposed? What sort of mental busyness happens or doesn't happen? Or fixations occur, phobias, or maybe it's just you become really manic, you become excited, you become infused with possibilities. But what happens in that mental body? Next body, the third one, is the energy body. So do you feel tingles? Do you feel a surge of blood or sensation? Do you feel numb? What's actually activation? Where it feels most alive in your body? The fourth one is the emotional body. So what's the chemical mix, the hormonal mix, the emotional mix often down in your belly or in your heart? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel calm? Do you feel excited? Do you feel angry? Do you feel frustrated? Do you feel numb? What's actually going on in your emotions? And the fifth body is the physical body. Do you feel a sensation and open? Do you feel flexible? Do you feel tight? Where do you hold this physical energy? Where do you lead from in the body? Do you shift from side to side? And that's where we really start to feel the shape, which sometimes is beyond the physical body itself, but still feels quite physical when, like I said, in the group, you might feel an extra limb, or you might feel the weight in a particular direction. So tuning into these 5 bodies, we really start to understand the energy scaffolding, the default state that arises in us, and then we process it. So when you feel you have that basic scaffolding that you're going to interact with, through breath, sound, and movement, through looping, through exaggeration of the state and the emotions and the energies, through articulation of what wants to come through, we really start to move it, to shift it, to acknowledge it, and therefore to release it. So you can start subtle. I like to use my hands to kind of paint and find what the shapes are. I'm feeling some kind of shape here coming up my chest, out my shoulders, and piercing up through the throat. So I'm moving it, I'm grounding in. I'm looping it. I'm starting to really activate my core. One of the key ways I like to exaggerate the energy is through really applying the lower dantian, juicing the root, the lower 3 chakras of the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus, through breath and movement, and really starting to juice the charge or the energy that's latent sometimes in this part of the body, and infuse it through intention, breath, and muscles into whatever shape. It's like adding lifeblood to the shape that you've found. Bust through, bust through, bust through, bust through. And so when you feel into the emotional state, the feeling of it, you then start to link into what's the message, what's the communication. And in this case, for me, it's just like busting through. The feeling is this energy coming, wanting to pierce something, to penetrate, to break open, to overcome. And so bust through, and just looping that, allowing that idea, the communication that might be held in the body to be acknowledged and expressed. And then hopefully through the breath, sound, and the movement, through the looping, the exaggeration of the motion, and the articulation of the communication, we get to a place where we really feel released on it. We're allowed to process it, we're allowed to fully witness it, and thereby dissolve it.